Hi, this is Dr. Georgia. I hope you find today's message a blessing in your life. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these video messages for you when you can't come to church, or for those of you who live in a different state, or we noticed recently we have a lot of people in even different countries who are tuning in. So if that is you and you can donate to us, we invite you to hit that donate button just below the message here. So thanks so much.
Let's prepare ourselves. If you put your hand over your eyes, I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
I open my eyes to see the spiritual truth today.
Now over your ears, I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
I open my ears to hear the spiritual truth today.
Now over your heart, I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
I open my heart to receive the spiritual truth today.
The spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that life has given us, everything that life is and has is given to us freely to use. Everything God is and has been given to us freely to use. Everything Allah is and has been given to us freely to use. Everything the universe is and has been given to us freely to use. Nothing has ever been withheld from you. Nothing is being withheld from you right now, and nothing ever will be withheld from you in the future. No matter how many times you've screwed up in your life, there is no punishment going on. There is nothing being withheld from you. Well, Reverend Georgia, that's easy for you to say, but you know, I have been looking for a mate for years. Years I've been looking for a mate. Well, here's the thing. In this church, we say what we are looking for is looking for us right now. Whatever it is that we're looking for is looking back for us right now. There is somebody out there in form who is kind and compassionate and passionate and smart and beautiful or handsome and has a job. And they're looking for you right now. But until we can believe it 100%, until we can see it 100%, we can't receive it. It can't come through the veil to us. Some of you might be saying, well, what about peace? Reverend Georgia, I'm looking for peace in my life. I just don't feel peaceful. I don't live in a peaceful surrounding. My family's in an uproar. The kids are always bickering. The dog bit the postman. My personal trainer, who I thought loved me, fired me this week. I just don't feel any peace. Until we can learn to be the peace we are looking for, it can't find us. We can't see it. But what about money? Reverend Georgia, I want more money. How much do you want? Never mind how much I want, just give me what I need. Just give me the bare minimum, that which I need. Give me that. Okay. How much is that? Happy to do it. But until we can believe it, until we can receive it, we're not going to be able to spend it in our life. It can't come through to us. So how do we turn away from the howlers and begin to be in a more receptive state? How do we become more receptive people so that we can actually have, feel, kiss, spend that which we're looking for? Well, I have some help for us. It's in a little book called This Thing Called You, written by our founder, Ernest Holmes. Now, Ernest Holmes has written a number of wonderful books, and this is one of them. Actually, this is one of the books that I should be reviewing every single year. You know, if you've been coming for several years, I always review Don Miguel Ruiz's 4 Agreements every single year. Why? Because I want you to review it every single year. And now I want you to review. I haven't talked about this book since 2014. And I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to review it every single year because I want you to do it. Now, some of you have taken foundations or you've picked up Science of Mind, the text, And you've read that with me, and you're like, oh God, it's so hard. This is not like that. This is a little thin, easy read for us. I have some out in the lobby. They're going to go before we sell out probably today, so you can go on. I'm not going to reorder. You can go on Amazon, and it's called This Thing Called You by Ernest Holmes. And the best thing about this book, it's all about you. That's what it is. It's all about you. It's a way to help us develop a more receiving state so that that which we're looking for can actually find us. And we're open to it. And we're available to it. Well, there's lots in this book. And here's the thing about this book. If you buy this book, I invite you to read it a chapter at a time and stop and contemplate it. This is an easy read. You can go through it in an afternoon. Don't do that. Read it a chapter and stop and say, what does this book mean to me? How can I use what Ernest Holmes' wisdom is imparted here to help me live a life of abundance and joy and happiness and creativity? How can I do that? Well, I've developed out of this book, I've taken 4 strategies I want to talk today. There are many more, but I've taken 4, probably 4 that I needed to hear. And I'm going to share them with you. The first one is, keep firm before you. Your memories are for reminiscing. They're not for future casting. Your memories are for reminiscing. They are not for future casting in our life. Our work is to remember that who we are now is different than who we were then in our life. Our memories, the ones that are, it's not to shut the door on it, it's not to forget about them, it's not to, oh, I had that bad memory, I'm going to push it down. No, it's to bring it up and look at it with the eyes of God. Ernest Holmes says, stare into it till the face of God becomes apparent to you. And that's our work with this. See? Our work is to remove any negative emotions that we've assigned to our memories. Our work is to let go of the blame and the shame and the guilt, because all that does when we associate it with our memories is to shut the door on that which is trying to find us. We just slam the door. Want me? Boop. No, I'd rather think about all the bad relationships I've ever had in my life. Want money? No. I'm going to rather think about how poor I am today and how worried I am. When we can begin to do that, and we can begin to look at those memories with spiritual eyes, with the eyes of understanding. Ernest Holmes writes this in this book. Everything you have ever thought, said, done, seen, learned, or experienced has left an imprint on your subconscious mind. So it does no good to try and shut it down, because in our subconscious, it's also driving our life. It's the very thoughts that are inviting in the calamities, that are inviting in the dramas in our life. Does no good for us to shut the door on them, to stuff them down. But it gets worse. Because it's not just your individual mind. This subconscious also contains memory images of your family life, your ancestral background, and the sum total of what the whole world has thought or believed. Ernest says that all of the thoughts that were ever thought in the whole world from the beginning of time have an imprint in your subconscious. But there's a solution. There's a solution. And that is to bring them up and look at them with spiritual lives. Sometimes you've had a reaction to something, and you actually know where that reaction came from, because you're aware of your prejudices. You're aware of whatever, your thoughts. And you think, oh yeah, I had that experience, I had that reaction because I know I thought this, or I know I think this. You know, And if there's anybody in the room who doesn't think that they have prejudices, get over it. Get over it. Because we all have them. Whether we have them subconsciously around race or ethnicity, or we have them around something else, like maybe you have a feeling about bikers, or maybe about Republicans, or whatever it is. We all have them. And sometimes we know we have them, and so we're aware of it. But other times, we have a reaction to something and we have no idea where that came from. Did you ever that happen to you? Where you said, oh, where was that come from? It came from your subconscious. That's where it came from. Whether we know that came from there or not. Take money, for instance. Maybe you grew up with parents who did well financially, and you're having trouble rubbing two nickels together. You're always worried about how you're going to pay your mortgage or your rent. That wasn't your parents' experience, but it seems to be yours, and you can't figure out what is going on because they did not have poverty thinking. They did not pass poverty thinking on to you, but the world did. I don't care how old you are. You know something about the Great Depression. There is something imprinted in each of us who know about that experience. And the older we are, the fresher the memory. Not so well hidden. And as a result of that, we worry. And worry is the biggest block to the flow of everything in your life. Let me say that again. Worry is the biggest block to all of the flow you have in your life. See, if you have your hands busy stuck in your pocket, God can't throw any money in there. If you're taking care of what you have all the time, nothing more can get in because you're worried about letting it go in your life. Take racism, for example. We know that racism is not over. You don't have to have imprint from slavery, imprint from lynchings. Those things are blessedly not happening on the surface anymore. But it is almost impossible to grow up in this country without being imprinted by that experience in our history. So if we keep pushing it down, I don't have any racism. I don't know about that. That's not me. What we're doing is delaying our healing as individuals and as a global society in our life. People ask me, well, why do you think it is that Europeans and African Americans are so cautious around one another? It's because of this. It's because we've stuffed down that, and we aren't preparing ourselves for the healing yet. Make no mistake, the healing can happen. We have to prepare ourselves. We have to be in a receivership mode. So what about your personal ancestors, your family? What memories do you have from your own family that's keeping you in a state of worry and keeping you from the flow? He writes this in the book. These memories are not dead things, quite the reverse. They are active. But there is more to you than this. Just as you are being acted upon by your own memories, the mind of history, and your environment, you are also being acted upon by the mind of God, which is within and around you. I know that if I were to ask any one of you, which is stronger, the mind of God or your sorry memory from your childhood, all of you would say the mind of God. Now we have to act like it. Now we have to act from it in that odd job. See, our job is not to forget. It's to bring a God perspective to our problems. Reverend Dr. Michael says, our problems are never as big as our God is. Ever. In our life. And that's true through anything you've been through individually or collectively. God is here right now, working with you. So stop letting memories define who it is that you are. Some of us say, I had a terrible childhood, so I'm not good in social situations. I didn't learn how to be social because my parents were like squirrels, and I don't know, they just didn't give me any skills. Well, I feel you. I was raised by squirrels too, but I figured it out. And you can too. God love you. Doing the best they could with what they had. See, some of you are saying, I dropped out of school, so I'm not smart. That's not true. That's not true. There are so many wonderful, wise, successful people doing things today who dropped out of school, including our beloved Ernest Holmes, who dropped out of the 8th grade. So many people. I could be up here all day answering how many people have done that. You're smart. If you dropped out of school, you're still smart in your life. Some of us, you say, I grew up poor, so I don't know how to handle money. My parents didn't handle money very well, so I didn't learn it. Forget about it. You can learn how to handle money. And you have learned how to handle money. Keep going. Keep doing it. See, when we let our memories define us, we shut the door on the power for good that's trying to get through to us. You're not doomed to carry any of your familiar or global memories with you. Now, here's the most important thing I'm going to say today, so those of you who are taking notes, this is a note to take. We are creators, we're not creatures. We're creators, we're not creatures. And we can co-create with Spirit any kind of new life we want to create in our life. It's absolutely up to us. The seed of change is within us. And it's stronger than any memory you've ever had. The second strategy I want to talk about today is elevate your daydreams into spiritual practices. Elevate your daydreams into spiritual practices. You know, it'll help you believe. When we daydream, we feel good. When we feel good, we receive good. We feel good, we receive good. We feel good, we receive good. See, we make spirituality so difficult. We make success so difficult. But when we feel good, we receive good, and when you use daydreams, it helps you to feel good. You know, when we were kids, we daydreamed all the time. Easy breezy. Daydream, daydream, daydream. We've got to revive that in our life. And if there's somebody in here who doesn't have a daydream, get a daydream. And start working on it. See, many of the people that we look at today as being successful, it started when they were kids and they had daydreams, or they were young adults and they had daydreams. Mike Ditka, who is a famous football coach. I'll get to him sooner or later. Turn off that thing in case anybody's Mike Ditka came from a mining town, steel mining town. He said, you know what, I'm not going to a steel mine. I am not going to do it. I see my dad come home and he's exhausted. I see my brothers come home and they're exhausted. There's no creativity left in their life. There's no joy left in their life. They go to the mines every day and they come home every night. And they just get enough rest to get up and do it again. I'm not going to do it, he said. He had a dream of football. Now, he wasn't the greatest player in the world. He became the greatest coach. But he wasn't the greatest player in the world. But he had a dream that was strong enough to keep him there. Some of you know the name of Ray Kroc. Ray Kroc was a guy who, he sold paper cups and plates to fast food restaurants. And then he ran into a guy who made a milkshake machine. And he said, you know what, I'm going to sell your milkshake machine. And so he went around and he sold the milkshake machine. And then the guy came up with a machine that would make 8 milkshakes at a time. And so this Ray Kroc went around and he sold those too. And he came upon a little fast food restaurant once. And he sold them the things, and the guy said, well, we're not doing all that well. He said, well, try this. I think this will help your restaurant. He said, in fact, I'm going to buy in as a third partner to your restaurant because I believe so much in this milkshake machine and what you've done so far. Well, the brothers finally, the business picked up considerably. The brothers sold it to him. The brothers' names were McDonald's, and Ray Kroc bought McDonald's. And now he's a millionaire. Some of you know the name of Sybil Ferguson. She had a dream. She had a dream that she would not be overweight, what was in her mind overweight. She wanted to get to what she called a good body weight for her. And so she developed a plan for herself of eating that would put her to a good body weight. She was so successful with this plan and with fulfilling her daydream, she was so successful with it that she started giving it to other people, and then she started selling it to other people. And it finally became the Diet Center, which makes now clears $48 million a year. All of that happened. She didn't set out to make $48 million a year. She set out to fulfill a daydream of hers. Every one of us should have a daydream in this room, no matter how old you are. You better, if you don't have one, better start working on getting one. Dust it off. Maybe it's your childhood daydream that's been there a while. Dust it off and give it another try. There's a college professor, I've told this story before, maybe you remember it. There's a college professor who wanted to give his students a test, and so he developed a test that he called Test A, which is worth 30 points, Test B, which was a little easier and it was worth 20 points, and Test C, which was very easy and worth 10 points. So he gave the students the test, and he said, you choose which one. You can choose category A, category B, category C, it doesn't matter to me. You just go ahead and choose it. The people, they took the test, he took them back, and he didn't even read them. All the people who took test A got an A. All the people who took test B got a B. All the people who took test C got a D. And the student said, you didn't even read this. How could you give us a grade? He said, I wasn't testing your knowledge. I was testing your aim. I was testing your aim. We need to aim higher than we think we can aim right now, because that's where the fruit is in our life. And if you're shy about your dream, if you think it's just too me, the dream, remember, God wants to come out and play through you, through any dream that you have. The third one is have a little patience. I probably chose that because I need it the most. Keep your spiritual pants on. We love to have things happen to us right away. You know, I want to mate. Where is she? She had 10 minutes. I've been waiting for this. Here's what Ernest Holmes says. But I have to get to the right page. Do you remember the story Jesus told about the woman who came up to a judge asking for help? At first, the judge refused her request because he was comfortably settled with his family and did not wish to be disturbed. Do you remember how persistent this woman was? She refused to take no for an answer. She just kept knocking at the door until her faith and determination and patience were rewarded. See, it's not that God is taking God's sweet time and getting to you that which you want. It's that you have a block. You have a block in receiving it. Now, I'm hesitant to tell you that, because here's what happens when people hear me say, I have a block. I'm bad. I'm not a good metaphysician. I'm ashamed of myself because I have a block. If I were a better metaphysician, I wouldn't have a block. It's my fault. Forget it. Forget it. Every time you shame yourself, it's like you put a wad of gum on the bottom of your spiritual shoes. You're not going anywhere. You're not going anywhere. You're going to have to just stay there until you get rid of the shame. You're going to have to just stay there without getting your good until you get rid of the blame. Let it go. Let it go. And it's going to come up. We're all going to have it. But every time it comes up, now you have the tools to just say, cancel, cancel. Cancel, cancel. I don't believe that. I don't believe I'm bad. I know that I have a blog. And I know that with help from this church, from classes, from reading, from practitioners, from the person sitting next to me, I can let that block go. I can dissolve it back into the nothingness from which it came. But I have to have spiritual eyes. The last one I want to talk about today is stay centered. Stay centered. Now, truthfully, the easiest time to stay centered, the most effective time for you to stay centered is early in the morning before you get up and get out into the fray. That's the best time to stay centered. But you can do it anytime. You can stop anytime and excuse yourself and go to a quiet place, even a restroom stall, to give yourself centered. See, notice that I didn't say meditate. I'm not going to say meditate. Because that word just scares us. It just, monkey. I've tried. Don't meditate. Forget meditation. Just be quiet. Just be quiet for 5 minutes every morning. See, somehow we've got this 20-minute thing going on. I love it if we meditated, if we sat still for 20 minutes. But if you don't worry. Don't not do it because it's not perfect. See, we're such perfectionists. If I don't have the right pillow and the right music and the right gong and the right position, I can't get all pretzeled up. I can't. Sit in a chair. Look out the window. Just be still. Don't talk. Just listen. You can even say, God, what do you have for me today? What would you like for me to know today? And just be still until it comes through for you. Sorry, my cue card dropped itself. That's all we need to know. You know, we live in an information age where things are coming at us so quickly that we need to start with a silent time, a quick time. You remember what Gandhi said. Gandhi said, I have many things to do today. I have marches to lead. I have speeches to give. I have people to see. I better meditate for 2 hours instead of 1. Because he knew that's how we would be successful. Now, I'm not asking you to do 2 hours. I'm not asking you to do 1. I'm asking you to do 5 minutes every day. Just give it up for God for 5 minutes. And we have to train ourselves to do that, but you can do that. You train yourself to walk. You train yourself to ride a bicycle. You train yourself for your job. You train yourself to drive a car. Isn't God worth enough time, as much time as a car takes to train? Yes. But we have to do it. We have to be still and do it. All this information coming out. You know, when I was a girl, and I'm no longer, I'm older now, but, you know, we had 3, some of you remember this, we had 3 television stations coming into our house. That was after my frugal father decided to buy a television, which was, I was older then. We had 3 stations coming into our house. And if you fell asleep after those 3 stations went off, you got a pattern. And we've all woken up to that pattern at some point in our life. Well, now, in my house, Donna and I have 500 stations. And most of you do too. If you have a Dish or Comcast or one of those, you have 500 stations just all the time. Move, come in, come in, come in. And our nervous system begins to feel that. We get to access the good, the bad, and the ugly all day, all night, whenever we want to turn it on. Many of us, when we were kids, there was one kind of tennis shoe. The Keds. Remember the Keds? You went to the gym, you got a pair of Keds, you threw them in your locker, those were your shoes. Okay? Now, did you know that there are 77,000 kinds of sports shoes available to us? 77,000. And they all say they'll do, we don't even know how to pick out a pair of shoes anymore for our sporting activities or for walking activities, because they have walking and running, and they have the kind with balls on the end you can skate around on them, and they have lights on some of them, and some of them are built in such a way your ass will look better after you watch them sit down. We don't even know how to get a tennis shoes anymore. Impossible. So much information coming to them. Now, if you walked into a store, they wouldn't have 77,000, but the buyer of that store could have chosen from 77,000. Now, our consciousness doesn't know this, but our nervous system begins to understand it. It's like we lived our life on 110, and now we're automatically into 220. And our nervous system begins to know that. And if we can begin to start each day with a little quiet, a little silence, a little receptivity to God's love for us, we can begin to understand our life much better. I would invite you to take today's spiritual truth, that everything that God has is available to us right now to enjoy. Everything the universe has is available to us to enjoy. I would ask you to make that an affirmation, so that you say that several times a day, and especially on those days when you're kind of feeling down, when you're kind of feeling defeated in your life. Make that your affirmation. All that God has and is fully available to me now. Before we close off, we have a very special thing that's going to happen right now. So, Stephen, will you bring the chair up? Where is Stephen? Okay. Richard, will you bring the chair you're sitting in up right now? We'll get you another chair somewhere. Oh, wait, here comes Stephen. We only need one. You can take one of the little chairs. Do I have to sit in? No. But it's a lady, so she probably wants to sit this way. All right, Brenda, will you come forward? Or will you have a seat? Have a seat. Today is our beloved Brenda's birthday. Words can't express what this woman has done for all of us in this church. As the senior minister of this church, it is my honor to bless you on your birthday today. You were born on this earth with a purpose and a reason, and that purpose and reason is so clearly to express God's love in all the places where abundance exists and where the appearance of abundance does not exist. Many people in this church have felt your loving hand, and others have felt your love without ever seeing your hand. We have become more generous because of you. We have become more inclusive because of you. We have become more principled because of you. In short, God knew what God was doing when you were given breath and brought to us for so many of your birthdays. Here are a few representatives of our congregation to wish you a happy birthday.
Reverend Brenda, on behalf of the Ujima Committee and all those we serve through our outreach projects, we wish you a blessing on this birthday. Your leadership has enabled all of us to feel more love and to show more love to those in need in our community. Happy birthday, Reverend Brenda.
On behalf of the Adult Education Department at CSA, I wish you a blessing on this birthday. Your dedication to both the students and the teachings has shown so many of us the way to a new life, freedom, and love. Happy birthday,
Miss Britt, don't make me cry. On behalf of our Holmes brothers and sisters who are served by this church, I wish you a birthday blessing. Your generous spirit has created a way for the spiritual community to support children in the school district who are in need. Because of you and your leadership, they can feel more like the other children in their class, not less than. God bless you. Happy birthday.
On behalf of the practitioners and the practitioner students. On behalf of the practitioners and the practitioner students, I wish you a birthday blessing. You have been and can continue to be an amazing role model for those of us who have taught in class and for those of us who just observe the love you pour out to your clients and some of ours every day. Happy birthday, Brenda. I love you.
And so, this birthday blessing would not be complete without the acknowledgement of the one source, the one life, the one light, that light that is abundance, joy, love, beauty, prosperity. That is what I am. That is what Brenda is. Brenda is love and joy, beauty and prosperity. Brenda is compassion. Brenda is God in action. And so I speak my word right here, and I speak my word right now, that this light that is the light that is God shines in and as and through her, and that this light continues to heal, to lift, to encourage, that this light is a light that spreads not only in her life, but in every life that is touched. And I am so grateful and thankful for this life and this light and this joy, this beauty that is embodied as Brenda. I am so grateful and thankful for God expressing as Brenda here and now and always. And I'm just more grateful and thankful that you'll ever know that Brenda can lift you up from the depths of darkness and show you the light. Yes, I'm grateful and thankful for principle. I'm grateful and thankful for Brenda expressing as God. And I just speak my word that this year is especially prosperous. This year is especially healing. This year, wholeness shines through. This year, all needs beyond are met. And that this light lifts and touches each and every. So I just know that this is the truth of what I speak. I'm grateful and thankful for Brenda's sister, mother, friend, lover, leader, healer. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I release this word into the law. And together